Welcome back to We Still Like Each Other, the podcast. I'm Travis.
And I'm Stephanie.
And this is the podcast where we show that the honeymoon stage can last forever.
Forever and ever.
What's up, baby?
Whew. It's been a wild week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We missed the episode last week.
We didn't miss. We took a break.
Yeah.
A well-deserved break.
Definitely. And it landed on Father's Day / my birthday, so it was lit. But yeah, this past week has been kind of crazy. We had a high week with Father's Day, my birthday, Drake album. But this week is kind of like, what the fuck? This country fucking with us again.
I didn't think we'd be talking about this again.
On the Mother's Day special, we discussed the possibility of the Supreme Court overturning the Roe versus Wade decision. And it kind of just seemed like, oh, wow, shit, it could happen. But now it happened. And it's like, do we want to talk about it again? Like, I made my point clear last time. But at the same time, it's like nothing seems more important.
Yeah, it's, I created a highlight of us talking about it with our mothers. Mm-hmm. And there was something my mom said about, it feels like we're going back to the dark ages. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know a time before Roe v. Wade was put into place, but it's just crazy that it's 2022 going on 2023. And, this was a time where when you would watch movies and they talked about the future and it's like 2020 and it'll be like flying cars and just like a overall
and a more progressive society.
Exactly.
In general.
And everything about where we are right now, just, it's like a Mad Max movie,
And speaking of you not knowing a world before Roe versus Wade, I remember learning about Roe versus Wade in like high school and stuff, and it seeming like ancient history. Like even that, like, oh my God, there was a time when women didn't have these rights, and it just kind of seemed like something of the past. And today, I didn't think I'd be 32 years old and that be overturned.
And today we were talking with Eli about, was it voting? Women voting?
Oh.
What?
You remember how that conversation came up?
Oh, some kid in his schools like say he wants to fight for men's rights.
Yes.
That was weird.
Yeah, he randomly told us that one of his friends wants to, I don't know, build weapons and protest for men's rights. So some shit like that.
And then he said, but I'm going to trick him and take his weapons and go for women's rights.
I was like, yeah, that's my boy.
It's very weird. But then that led to a conversation about, there was a time when women couldn't vote or do this.
Like, why is there a women's rights movement?
Yeah.
And we got into the whole conversation about suffragists and all these things. But yeah, where you were going with that?
I forget now that we started talking about his little crazy classmate. Yeah, I totally lost my train of thought.
Talking about a time before Roe v. Wade and it seeming like something that was set in stone, like I didn't think it was possible. I also started to think about how the Supreme Court is such a small group of people that have so much power.
That's why voting is so important, not just voting for presidential elections, because we vote for the people who put those people in power.
The president puts those people in power, right? But even now that this Supreme Court decision has been made, it leaves it up to the states and your local officials, your local representatives, the state representatives, your governor.
What do you think about, a lot of companies have been coming out basically saying that, we we're not with this, and if any of our employees do need to get an abortion, a legal abortion, we'll provide the funds for traveling, hotels, pay even.
Yeah. I think it's great, like kudos to them, and I'm glad that there will be some women who have that protection. But then it kind of puts an even bigger magnifying glass on the women who are going to be most impacted by this. Low income women, right? They're not working for these big major companies that can afford to do that, right?
Well, one of them was like Dick's Sporting Goods.
Yeah, fine. I guess it could benefit the average woman, but it makes me think of, for example, a lot of women don't even get paid maternity leave,
or
right?
very little.
Women don't have the right to be granted time to pump for their child breast milk, right? And let's talk about how we're in a formula shortage right now, and women don't even have time at work to pump breast milk. And if you've pumped breast milk before, if you've breastfed, or you've known someone who has, if you're not sticking to a schedule, your supply decreases. So you kind of have to be pumping just as often as your child would be eating had you been home with them. And there's no federal laws that protect women that make it a woman's right to pump milk for her kid. But now the federal government is also not protecting women against unwanted pregnancies.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Oh, God.
Nothing too crazy. But what do you say to the people who say, if you don't want to get pregnant, don't have sex?
I feel like that's like telling a human not to breathe air. Sex is human nature, 100%. Yes, sex, the ultimate goal of sex is to reproduce, right? As biological beings, that is our ultimate goal, to pass our DNA to the next generation, right? Survival of the fittest, right? So at our core, sex is something we all are going to want to do, right? And it's not realistic. It's like bad parenting.
How so?
I think of like when you tell a kid like just don't have sex ever, instead of teaching them about condoms, birth control, safe sex, consent, you're just being a bad parent.
So are you saying we're like incapable of controlling ourselves as a race?
What do you mean as a race?
Human race.
Baby. As a human race?
As the human race. That's what I meant. What?
That just sounded mad like all lives matter-y.
Oh my God.
I'm like, what? I feel like, yes. Because I can't really argue. I can't be like, no, we can't. We are incapable of it. On the individual level, there are people who are capable of withholding, for religious purposes or whatever, personal reasons, lower type of libido, for let's say, but it's not a solution. That's not a solution.
Okay.
And the people who, are against it or saying like it's not a big deal, like you could just don't get pregnant, it's not that simple, right? We have cases of rape, we have cases of pregnancies that are not liable, and you're forced to carry it full term.
I think that was one of the more crazy things to hear. Sexual assault, and you could potentially still have to give birth to that child or that baby, or if you find out that your child may have, like, I don't know the proper term, but if they see something's wrong,
Like some type of birth defect. That could be. There's like certain birth defects that they could tell you, like your child might not even really live past labor, past birth. So having women forcing them to go through that experience when they could, have a different option.
Do you think so? There are people out there, and usually religious people, who will say, no, you should still give birth to that child, even if they're going to be born with defects.
Yeah, they're fucking crazy.
I was going to say that. Like, do you think they really... Do you think they really grasp what that means? Like what type of life the parent is going to have now?
But listen, you're talking about just like a defect that they could still be alive and living. I'm talking about like you're going to give birth to a stillborn baby. And they still going to make you live through that experience to just bury your child immediately after birth. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like just a defect, like, oh, some type of disability. I'm talking about serious,
I get what you mean. Yeah,
medical conditions that your child is unlikely to survive. Period. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is.
And then let's say all children, right? Once they're here, what are the conservatives doing to help?
They're not worried about that. Only while it's in your womb, and then once it's out.
What about childcare? What about medical care? So then this is where I got into my deep like conspiracy theory thoughts, right? Because it's like they don't want women to have certain reproductive rights, right? To decide to terminate an unwanted pregnancy. But then they also don't want to help women take care of these children, right? So it's like what is the agenda, right? Because women with money will always have access to abortions, right? Women with money also don't need to depend on subsidized childcare, being able to pump at work because they could just not work for a couple of years to take care of their kids. So then the women who are most impacted by this lack of support for their children are also low-income women. So I'm like, what if that's the whole point? Like, we need like a workforce. We need these children born into poverty to continue this cycle, to work these low income jobs.
Yeah, I definitely can see that. There are people, let's say at the top of the pyramid, who are there because of the people who stay at the bottom. It kind of makes me think of, I think I overheard you talking about it recently, about how they decide how many jails to build based off of was it like third or fourth grade?
Like fourth grade data. They look into the data of fourth graders, like in terms of their reading level, their math levels, incidents of suspensions or whatever, school disciplinary action.
So if they do that, and that's pretty
wild.
That's pretty publicly known if you do a quick Google, right? Imagine what other research that they have based on, all right, this set of people, if we keep them in this salary range and this, status of living, basically.
We'll get 5 generations of working class people just from this family.
Which will trickle up. It's not trickle down.
Evaporate up.
So yeah, I could definitely believe that. I don't think that's so far fetched.
Yeah. Yeah. You ready?
Talk.
Oh, I thought we were like cutting this part out. All right, so yes, that. And then I'm also thinking like they have this data to collect, my conspiracy theory, like they're just pushing the workforce. There's also been a lot of talk in recent years how millennials are not having many children. Like they're deciding not to, or having less kids than previous generations. how is that impacting these business models? You know, because corporations, corporate America, capitalism is all about growth, growth, growth. Year after year, they have to make more and more and more and more and more money, right? But if generations are collectively deciding to have less children, how is that going
It
to
fucks up the balance.
fuck up their algorithm?
You know, it's one of those things that's so ingrained in our society. When you're, I don't know, how old do you have to be to get your first job? Like 16? Some cases even 13?
Yeah, I think it depends on the state, but it's like 16-ish,
Okay.
I feel.
What's the first job they tell you to get?
The first job they tell you to get? What, like fast food worker?
McDonald's.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And some people, it's a stepping stone. It's just like, I'm here for a second. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Uh-huh.
And then for some people, oh no, you're manager now. And then you're like, what do I should stay here. This is good money. This is putting a roof over my head, putting food on the table.
And it also depends who you have to look up to around you. You being McDonald's manager is probably even seemed impossible to you because you didn't have anyone else around you doing anything like it.
It's the employee of the month. You're on the wall. Like all those things is like a psychological.
And listen, I do believe that there's a ladder in all these corporations that could be beneficial, right? Like I've heard those stories of the burger flipper turning franchise owner and all that. But even now, this new franchise owner is dependent on lower class workers to maintain their success.
Yeah. I don't know how we got here from Roe v. Wade, but we're here.
Yeah, just, thinking about America, the machine, what drives it, what forces, what powers are at play.
Do you feel hopeful for our children?
Listen, I feel like, I don't know. It's hard to think about. I think we'll be okay. I think our children will be okay. But I feel like we're privileged in a certain way, Today
I was talking with my cousin and we were just talking about age difference between the boys and, realistically what age Eli and River will start to hang out as adults.
Like together?
Together.
Okay.
And I don't know, when I thought of it, because I immediately started thinking of me and my brother, when I was 17, 18, he would take me out, whatever.
But and he was 6 years older than you.
6 years, 6 years older than me. And Eli's 8 years older. But whatever. The point I'm bringing up is that's going to be I don't know, 18 years from now. And I was thinking what the fuck is the world going to look like? Are my boys going to be able to go out and have a drink? Or is it going to be some crazy fucked up world? That's what the point of me bringing that up was.
I would hope that it wouldn't be such a drastic change that they aren't hanging out in 18 years. But I think it might impact them on deeper levels, like maybe college access, maybe college at all, their relationships, their independence. I feel like the life I'm trying to build for us and our kids is that they don't have to leave the nest as early as we had to leave the nest. I want them, once they leave here, it's for that big move. Either they want to live in a different state for a different opportunity, or they want to buy a house and start a family, get married. But I don't want them to feel like they have to escape us, or that there's no room for them in our home, so they just have to go to be roommates with someone else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But I'm what is the world going to look like in 18 years in terms of job access, education? What are they going to want to do in this world? Is there going to be some major movement that they're going to want to be involved in? You know?
Yeah.
I think about that.
Crazy.
I also worry about not being relatable in a sense.
To them?
To them. Like, are they going to have such younger, newer, more progressive ideas that I'm not going to understand? You know?
It's possible.
Like, am I going to be like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense to me. Because when you think about generations before us, there's certain things going on now that they can't get with. And we're like, what do you mean you don't get it? Like, and what if that happens to us?
Even technology.
Yeah.
That I feel like it's shown a lot in that department.
Yeah. All right, baby.
Yeah.
You ready for Did You Know?
Yes, lighten up the mood.
Let's lighten up the mood. If y'all notice, I don't have my laptop with me. Today's going to be more conversational because it's just been a heavy, heavy week.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I forgot. I wanted to talk to you about Drake's album, and I forgot.
Well, we could get into it with this. Did you know?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. What was it?
Maybe not. Maybe.
Did you know? Did you know both males and females must have adequate testosterone for sexual attraction? Yes, even women have small amounts of testosterone. Testosterone creates desire as well as aggressive behavior, which may push you to pursue the person who is creating this desire.
Ooh, that's interesting.
So,
testosterone does what? Repeat that part.
Testosterone creates desire as well as aggressive behavior, which may push you to pursue the person who is creating this desire.
So when you're shooting your shot, it's probably because your testosterone is like, do it. It gives you the courage.
Well, it's also, if I'm understanding it right, it's also your testosterone too, no?
No, yes. I don't mean yours. I meant like yours, anybody shooting their shot. That makes sense.
Yeah, yours was definitely pumping the night we met.
I was drunk. It was the alcohol, not the testosterone. I believe it. I know someone who's taking testosterone and they're super like extra horny. So I know it does definitely increases desire.
I should take some.
I actually imagine you with more testosterone. No, man, what would your voice sound like? Jesus, you probably have like elevated too much testosterone
because of my voice
and your super hairy legs.
These are normal hairy.
And your hairy ass.
We didn't talk about that on YouTube.
Oh, we didn't? Oh, oops. I was going to say, I also have a friend, a woman, who has been told by her doctors that she has elevated testosterone levels. And she does have a higher than typical sex drive, that I would say.
Is she hairy?
Compared to like me, like I'm a woman with very little hair on my body. So yeah, she has more body hair than I do.
It's interesting. I feel like, I guess as a man, if you have a high sex drive, you would want your woman to have a high testosterone level. But then the give and take here is that you might have a hairier woman.
Weren't we talking about like stigmatized things about women? Who cares if a woman has hair?
No, I don't care.
You said a trade-off as if it's like
a negative thing. Listen, I can appreciate those things and still make fun of them at the same time.
All in the name.
I knew
of
a girl with hairy nipples. I didn't mind.
When I was pregnant, I had like fine hair, like not even just on my nipples, just on my whole tit. Like I look fuzzy.
No, I'm talking about like she had like curls coming out her joints.
Did you lick them?
I had to.
See, it don't matter at the end of the day. Ladies, it don't matter.
It don't matter.
Not to a real man.
With high testosterone.
With high testosterone. That's funny. Speaking of high testosterone, People were saying Drake had no testosterone on this album. See, I found a way to transition
Good.
it.
I see you.
So, Drake's album, how are you feeling? Be honest about your first opinion before you heard anybody else's.
What the fuck is this?
Really?
But not in a bad way. Because I can say, what the fuck is this? And still appreciate the music.
So, what the fuck is this in what sense?
In the sense that I was like ready for, I don't know, I was ready for a typical Drake album.
Like more rappy rap?
Rap, singing, a nice balance of the two.
But like a hip hop
inspired album. And I was surprised. But then when we took time to actually listen to the album. I was like, yo,
okay. So let me tell you my first initial reaction. Because, you know, I want to first, before we were, you know, influenced, I was just like, fuck, everyone's going to come for Drake. I was bopping to it. But I was already like thinking like, oh my God, I'm going to have to defend him. People are going to be like, this shit sucks. Like I already just knew what everyone else was going to say.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Like in my head, I was already like, oh, here we go. But I picked out a couple of songs already that I was like, I like these songs. The first one though, I will say, the first one that I liked was the more rap song with 21 Savage. That was the first one that like kind of caught
me. Twerking.
Yeah. But then when like on the second play, there was a couple more songs that I was like, yo, these songs are hot.
It's all I've been listening to. Like whenever I'm actually listening to music, it's what I put on.
Yeah. All right. So then what were we going to say?
Yeah. So I sat with it, and like you said, you start to pull out ones. Some of them are a little too much. Oh, what's that white girl dance?
We claiming that shit.
Yeah, there is too much of that for me, but I would give it like there's a solid. I could listen to a solid 60% of the album and like really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I think those are good numbers.
And then I was thinking about how Drake has always been the type to do something a little bit different, and I feel like that's what I like about him. Like, even you and I, as talented as, let's say, like a Kendrick Lamar, talented. He could rap, lyrics.
There's only so much.
Intelligent. You don't want to hear the rapidy rap music like straight through in a whole album.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we like certain songs, or we're like, wow, that was deep, that was powerful. But like just for pure
like
joy.
Replay value.
Yes. I'm not replaying a whole Kendrick album.
And I think why Drake is my favorite artist is because he could give you that song where you're like, oh, I need to pull up the lyrics and listen. He went deep here. You see how he said that, but then he brought it back to that. But then he could give you something with a little more, there's less thinking involved.
Yeah.
And
like fun.
Yeah.
He has dipped and dabbled in different genres of music as well. Like I started thinking about when he did the One Dance song, the song, I Need a One Dance. You know, that was like different. And he in a way brings music that might not be in the mainstream and makes it mainstream, which I feel like benefits artists.
It's the Drake effect.
Yes, it benefits artists in that genre, you know? Some people may say he's appropriating it, and there's been people doing it way before him, but now because Drake did it, like everybody likes it. But yeah, but it's like, well, good. He brought attention to it. I feel like it will be fucked up if he pretended like he made it up. But I don't think he's doing that because he's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some bangers in there.
Yeah, solid album.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, you know, he tried something different, and I think he succeeded.
Yeah, my sister. So, I didn't even tell you this. She texted me. My youngest sister, she's a lesbian, and she sent me calling my name, and she said, "Yes, this song, I love it. It's giving gay ally." And she loves that song. She's like, "This song is so good." It is also Pride Month. I'm wearing my rainbow dress. So I ordered this dress, and it was supposed to be more of the Pride colors. And I ordered it from the gap. And it took weeks and weeks to come for some reason. And it came from Banana Republic instead, even though, they're all the same company. And the colors were more muted. It's not really like a pride dress, but it's still cute.
It's a bisexual dress.
You right. They were like, you kind of gay, so we're not going to give you the bright colors.
Take it easy. Stop appropriating.
You married to a whole man. Relax.
That's funny. What I feel like we've missed some things.
About what?
Like this is 2 weeks. This feels like forever.
No. I think we've been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we gonna talk about why we're sitting here?
Really quickly.
Okay.
Where we've made the living room a little more cozy, a little more homey. So the area where we were recording the podcast isn't really as accessible anymore with our chairs. The basement is still not 100% done, but it's getting there. We started it. It's nowhere near 100% done, but we started the process. So we'll be on the couch for a few more weeks. That's it. We don't gotta address that so much.
All right.
But I wanted to ask you some questions. So we got a couple of Also Y'all Can Relate entries. However, they don't really flow the way that our Also Y'all Can Relates usually do. But I do think that there's still some good topics in there that we can discuss.
Shoot.
So the first one is, what reason would it be okay for in an adult relationship, right? If two people are living together, for one person to kick the other one out? When is it okay to kick out a partner?
If this is someone you want to be with, never.
Never?
You want to be with this
Okay,
person
you
after?
want to be with this person.
Never.
Or what if you decided you don't want to be with them?
When is it okay to kick? I feel like this is a trick question.
So you were saying never because you're like, if you want to work things out, don't kick them out. Because that's like
there's no turning back from that.
Once you kick them out, it's over.
Potentially. There's a stronger chance.
A stronger chance. Okay. So for me, I feel like in adult relationships, we have to remember that once you're living together, you become each other's safe space, right? And deciding to just say like, get out is very triggering. Like you're taking away someone's safety, right? So unless it's like abuse, like you're in danger, we need to try to remember not to use your home as like a threat. Like, get out. Or if y'all have an argument, like, you could leave.
Yeah, I hate that shit. I feel like I'm, a lot of cases, usually when people start dating and they decide they want to live together, it's someone saying, come live with me.
Yeah. So it's
very rarely, it happens, but very rarely it's like, oh, we should live together. Let's go look for a place together. And then we move in together. But for the most part, it's, I have a place. There's more than enough space for you.
You're
come
welcome
on
to join. Yeah.
That feeling of, and no matter what, your partner is saying, this is our place now. We're splitting bills, whatever the case is. But then the minute something goes left, now it's get out of my place. And that feeling, it's like a punch to the gut.
Yep. Absolutely.
I've been there. It's not a good feeling.
It's not. And then it's kind of like embarrassing if you have to like call on people to like hold you, to take you in for a couple of days or whatever. I just feel like that should be last resort, or if you're like literally in danger, your safety is in question or whatever.
I don't think it's a case of like, if someone does that to you, be done with them. I know there's a level of immaturity on that person's side that they don't really even see the harm they're doing, like the long lasting effects of what they're saying. But it better never happen again.
Yeah. That's why I feel like what I love about this show is that maybe there's a couple listening to this that hasn't done that and now won't ever have to, you know? Realizing how detrimental that could be to somebody's relationship, you know? And that a lot of people have trouble trusting other people to that extent. Like, oh yeah, I could live with you, or we can live together. But it's like at any second I could be homeless. That shit is scary.
Nobody wants to live like that.
No.
Or just the ability to express yourself. Like if we got into a heated argument and I wanted to raise my voice the way you raising your voice, I shouldn't have to be worried like, oh, I better take it easy. I might get kicked out if I say the wrong thing.
But no, don't try me.
This is Stephanie's house.
Not about kicking you out, but like, don't fucking raise your voice at me. I don't like that shit.
You're making this personal. I'm saying people who aren't afraid of their partner raising their voice.
Like, you're talking about like not walking on eggshells, like being able to express yourself, have a discussion, and be able to freely say and express yourself and relieve your emotions without the fear of you being tossed out.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But be careful with your examples because you ain't raising your like. Yeah. Okay. My other question is, have you ever? It's hard to ask you questions because we're together, and I'm like, well, you've never been in that situation. But anyway,
how you know? I had a life before you.
How would you feel if you were in your mid-20s, or if when we met, I had already been previously married?
I don't think it would have bothered me.
You don't think so, right?
I'd be curious, like, as to why, like, why'd you get married? Why'd you get a divorce? Hopefully you got one. And but it wouldn't bother me.
Gotcha.
I feel like it's kind of similar to quickly getting over the fact that your partner has been with other people. That used to bug the shit out of me in the beginning. and it's only because I am still, but I was so into you that the idea of anyone else getting to experience what I was currently experiencing, it used to fuck me up. And I wasn't, as you guys have been watching, what is this going to be, episode 49? We're very comfortable with the fact that we've been with other people when we're telling stories. I was just talking about licking hairy nipples and saying, if you licked hairy nipples, it's okay. I'm not going to. But very early on in our relationship, I didn't want to hear that shit. Like I used to say, I could see why people only want to date virgins.
Which is, I was waiting for you to stop talking to be like, yo, that's mad problematic.
Yeah, but also growth,
yeah, because it could be kind of seen as like very possessive, because of course no one wants their partner to be with most people don't want their partner to be with other people in this relationship moving forward, but to feel a way about their past is kind of like a little like red flaggish. Like
I don't think it's a red flaggish. I think it depends on where it's coming from, because listen to me, like I'm so in love. And I'm so...
That's what fucking abusers say.
Okay, well, I'm not an abuser, and I'm telling you how I was feeling.
I understand that, but
don't equate my experience to an abuser when I'm clearly not an abuser, and I'm just telling you how I was feeling. So I don't feel like you should go there, because we're talking about my experience.
Like, and you're right. And I love you, and I've never felt threatened. I never felt like you were possessive, and I never felt like, whoa, red flag. But I'm saying not everyone is you and I, right? Other people are listening to this show, and I kind of feel like it's important to note that there's a fine line between, I was just so in love with you that the thought of other people with you bothered me, and don't even talk about having other people. I want to be with virgins. Like you made the joke about, I see why men do that, but there are really men like that, or people in general that like, if you've been with anyone else, you are worthless.
I understand.
You get what I'm
I
saying?
understand. I am. We have a platform, so
yeah,
I understand.
And I don't want somebody to remix this and be like, you see, Travis said virgins are better. You get what I'm saying?
Or see, Travis he didn't want her to be with anyone before either. I'm the exception.
Yeah.
Not the rule.
Yeah. Also, the reason I'm glad you talked about that is because the same way, like, there are people who feel like you got to be a virgin. There's people who feel like a woman who has been married is kind of has less value. Like, they're seen as like, one, you were in such a committed relationship with someone, and two, it failed. So you were bad at it once before, you're going to be bad at it again.
Have you ever dated someone who was married?
No.
Yeah, same.
But I feel like that also relates to the people I was around. Or marriage isn't such a common thing to begin with. But yeah, someone.
So the original question was, would I be bothered if you were married before? And for me personally, no.
Yeah. But I wonder, and I wonder if our listeners will tell us, but, you know, people who are our age who still aren't married, like, would that be a deal breaker? Like, if the person they're dating has been married?
I don't see why it would be.
Yeah.
I guess everything, it just depends, but then you're also hoping that the person is being honest about the reason why they got a divorce. Because there's like his side, her side, and then there's the truth.
Yeah. But I would like to say that I feel there are people who feel like it's so stigmatized and they are embarrassed by it and might not want to tell the truth. Just kind of how, like, we had this conversation about how the fact that I was a single mom made me feel a little bit less worthy, or like, who's gonna love me because I have this baggage, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like there are people who feel the same way about admitting that they've been married and divorced already.
It's looked at as a failure.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, I've said this before, but I was pretty open about saying I never want kids. And, meeting you is just like that guy who used to say that every chance he got, his voice was so low I could barely hear him. And it didn't matter.
That was poetic.
I just think just be open to anything that life throws at you. And the love of your life may have, been out here in these streets. And that's just something you got to accept, or the love of your life. I was going to say something crazier, but.
Well, you were going to say it, because I was thinking it. What?
There was a lot of dicks. Lots of dicks. Like,
I was going to say I was in these streets.
What? I wasn't gonna. We were talking about a
hypothetical. A lot of dicks.
I was talking about a hypothetical situation.
Listen, I wasn't really as bad in these streets as I should have been.
It's not bad.
I wasn't in these streets like I should have been, and you was in these streets way more than I was. So
I was a nerd who stayed at the computer and minded his business.
Trust me, there's a lot of women who like the low key dude.
It's true. They love that shit. So yeah, that's my message. That's my. If the takeaway from all this, don't close yourself off to something that could potentially be.
There are couples who still don't talk about like how many partners they've had. That like they kind of keep it still to a secret, or they still lie about it.
Have we? I don't think we've ever like thrown numbers at each other.
We definitely did. And you know what's crazy? None of us knew the exact number, but they were both really high.
The fuck, Stephanie?
Yours was way higher than mine, like your estimate.
I think I have like a number somewhere in an old email.
I have stopped like counting. But I know like it's between this number and this number.
Take it easy.
I'm not going to say, but I know like it's between this and this.
Oh my God.
Yours was like, mine's is between this and this. And it was like nearly triple mine.
Or was I lying because I didn't want to seem not as experienced as you?
Right.
Oh my God. That's a good question. Have you and your partner ever
been open about
your number?
Your number.
And I'm talking like, even take a step further, like a DMX song. Like there was,
there's gonna be somebody
Felicia
in the comments like, I've been with my partner. This is my only partner. So what? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's cute, but don't try to play us.
And then tell us how many people you've had fantasies about.
Yeah. See, I know I ain't missing out on nothing. I had enough. I'm happy with my husband.
She beat the gauntlet of dicks and decided this is the dick I will marry.
You know what it was? It's crazy because I was still very conscious of my number because of the stigma and like being careful and selective of adding bodies, like stupid fucking shit. And it still added up quickly. And I'm like, damn, like it's hard, like the pressure society puts on people makes no fucking sense. Like if you're like, it wasn't like I was out sleeping with different people like every single weekend, which if you are safely, that's your prerogative. But I will go, I remember in college, I remember there was one time I was like, yo, I always remember because it was a long time. I was like, I haven't had sex in 9 whole months. And the numbers still add up eventually once you have sex. And you think about it. If you lose your virginity in high school, by the time you're married, there's like a 10-year window in there. What, you're supposed to sleep with 2 people in 10 years? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even if you have sex with one person a year for 10 years and you tell someone you have 10 bodies, it's like, ew. Like, what the fuck? I wonder what's like acceptable now these days.
I feel like the younger generation don't really care.
Don't care. Thank you. That's why I fucks with Gen Z. They don't give a fuck about that.
They just, loving self-care on whoever.
And they're safe. I feel like Gen Z is very like aware of safe sex. I feel like because they're so open about it, like it's not stigmatized to be like, talk about getting tested and talk about protection and talk about pleasure. Oh my God, Gen Z is talking about pleasure. They're gonna come. They're not gonna like be with their husband for 10 years and not being pleased and stay quiet about it. Nah.
Why'd you go like this?
Because I wanted you to remember what we were talking about.
Talking about. Not people you. Don't know.
No.
So don't go be with their husband for 10 years.
No, baby, not you.
You're talking about the DJ Envy thing.
DJ Envy and his wife. They were together. They were fucking for 10 years and she never had an orgasm. And she was afraid to say it. Yeah. That ain't happening in no Gen Z relationship. She gonna be like, babe, you should rub it like this and not like that. Or we should buy this toy and we should do this. Because they're more open about those kind of things.
Shout out to Gen Z.
For real.
I forgot how did we get here? We were talking about
marriage,
would I care if you
bodies.
Were married?
Yeah. There was one more scenario I wanted to ask you about. In our relationship, have you ever felt uncomfortable with making a decision for Eli? Or feeling like you were crossing a boundary that you couldn't cross as you were technically not his biological father?
I'm not Eli's biological father.
Oops.
No. So, I get this question kind of comes up a lot for people who don't know our situation. And I always say that I kind of feel like I cheated the system in a way, because there was never like a co-parenting situation with you and Eli's biological father.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to kind of step into that role
without someone stepping on your toes.
Exactly. Even you. Because I think you were happy that I was stepping up. So I don't feel like you ever like confined me to how I can make decisions for him.
Yeah.
And it may have been different if you did have a co-parenting situation with his biological father. I might have had to like tread lightly.
Yeah.
So, short answer, no, I've never felt like I couldn't make decisions for Eli.
Okay. Makes sense. So then what would you say to people who are starting newer relationships with people who have children?
I guess discussing those boundaries and discussing the expectations of where you fit in their child's life. Because let's say there is a healthy co-parenting situation. I don't need you to be a primary parent, but I need you're still going to be someone that they look up to. But it's just a little different.
But even if there is no co-parent, right? Like, let's say I was a single mom for like 7-8 years and then we start dating. You still can't come in and take a primary role from jump.
That's true.
Because I've been doing it by myself for so long. We have a system, we have a rhythm. And now you can't step in and just assume a role in that way.
I feel like I would also be kind of wary of the person who wants to.
What do you mean who wants to?
Like if like you said, example, you've been a single mother for 8 years and then now you've started dating me and like we're a month in and I'm just like asserting myself in this parental role. That's like a mini red flag in my opinion.
Like slow down.
Take it easy. Like, why are you in a rush to be this figure in their life? And it's not even like in the positive, like you're just like doing the reprimanding.
Okay. So now the other thing is, what if it is something like you disagree that they're doing? When is it okay to say something?
No, until I have a conversation with you.
So you can't just change the kid's routine without talking to the primary parent.
No,
first.
I mean, there's things that's going to happen in a moment, like a quick reaction.
Like for safety or whatever.
Like, oh, stop playing in the toilet. Like, but like bigger things, do you have an example?
I'm going to make this one up because I don't want to give it away. So let's say I let Eli stay up till 11 p.m. on school nights and he could play video games. And then he gets his report card and they're like, he's always tired in the mornings. Would you be like, no, Eli, you need to go to bed at 8:30?
No, because I feel like in that situation, you're the problem.
Okay.
So the conversation would have to happen with you first, and then we're hopefully coming to an agreement, and then we're bringing that to Eli.
So, see, yeah, you kind of have the conversation with me. You don't implement the change with the child.
Yeah. It's just like, oh, well, report card came back, you're always sleeping, so now you're going to bed at 8 o'clock. Yeah, no, there definitely has to be a conversation with you.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's tricky. It always should be a conversation with the parent. No matter something you brought up, no matter if you are going to be this person's parent, you're going to start co-parenting with your partner or not, you still have to be a role model to their kids and protect their kid, right? The same way you would your partner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even if they have their own parent, their own other father, mother, whatever, you're still another adult in their life that has to make sure they are safe. There was something else I was gonna say and I forgot. It's about parenting, safety. Fuck. I'm mad. I forgot.
It's you got me thinking about the fact that I haven't had to navigate those the fact that Eli's father is not, his biological father is not around.
Oh, I don't remember what I was gonna say. I was gonna talk about how no matter what, once you build a serious relationship with someone, I think even if they have children from a previous relationship, y'all partnership should always be prioritized.
I mean, yeah, that's like the case in every relationship, even if it is your biological children.
You always want to prioritize a relationship. That does not mean neglect your children. That does not mean forget their needs. That does not mean that you're choosing your partner over your kid. It just means prioritizing having a healthy relationship so that your children can benefit from two happy adults that live in their home.
Yeah. Agree 100%. Like I think we've even talked about the fact that we put each other first because it's a trickle down. The trickle down works in that case.
And that's why I feel like sometimes people say, oh no, I can't date people with kids. And it's because they probably have experiences where they've dated someone who doesn't know how to have that balance. And they allow their children to run their lives, which isn't good, you know? And learning how to set boundaries between your children and your relationship. I'm trying to think of an example. Like
sleeping in the bed.
Yeah.
That happens more often than not.
And I feel like that works for people, you know, for certain partners, especially if you were like, you were through the pregnancy, the baby just comes, the baby just happens to sleep in the bed or whatever. But if you start dating someone, it could be like a kind of a awkward situation. You know what I'm saying?
But why are you so quick to gloss over like if it just happens naturally in like two people who created a child together?
Because sometimes that just works for people. And it's not an issue. If it becomes an issue, if there's one parent who's like, this is uncomfortable, y'all have something y'all need to fix. But I feel like there are genuinely people who have no problem with it. They sleep every single night with their kids. They have king size beds. And that's just what works for them. I feel like unless it becomes a problem for one of the people in this relationship, I can't judge it. Like for us, we're like, hell the fuck no, because it doesn't work for us. But there are some people that it genuinely does.
Okay.
And if it's not an issue, then
all I'm thinking about is sex.
You know, people have sex outside of the bedroom, right? In other places.
I know, but I like missionary sometimes.
I know.
So
yeah, but to other people, that's not
do it
priority.
In the laundry room. We did it. So nasty. We did it once in the laundry room, and now I'm like, I'm sick of it.
You're a mess.
You cut me off. I was gonna get into the fact that Eli's biological father, and I just wonder how that would have been. Not that I want it to be like that. Whatever. There's pros and cons, but I feel like it's the way it is, and it worked out the best possible way. I couldn't imagine it any other way.
Yeah.
There was a small like a small period of time where we were attempting to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt weird. Like I felt like
it was like literally 2 weeks.
yeah, but I remember it was a conversation we had about, you know, I felt like all this time I was investing to being like the primary parent, I was going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't seeing the benefit for Eli.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, listen, for my own, I guess, stingy ways, I prefer it this way.
It's easier. I do sometimes battle with, oh my God, like imagine, like I fantasize about had it just worked out perfectly. I'm like, how lucky would he have been to have 2 dads?
Yeah.
And a whole nother family of people that loved and supported him. Like how lucky would he have been, you know?
Yeah.
But he's still very lucky. He's still very blessed. He still has a huge family. Our parents are separated and have other families, so he has so many grandparents and like
He has 4 grandmothers.
yeah, it's just like he's blessed anyway. But I think like imagine that, like having a whole nother family.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. Baby.
Daddy.
My 32-year-old.
Oh my God.
I mean 23-year-old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm 32.
It's your Jordan year.
Backwards.
Do you still like me?
I still like you.
We're back.
We're back.
We took a week off. We're back.
I'm like, we're back from what?
Yeah. It's like an awkward ending.
Yeah, because you said we're back.
Because we took a week off. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but you're supposed to just end it after you asked if I still like you.
You don't want to address these things. I don't understand. It's like,
see, maybe I don't still like him now.
We're on the couch. We didn't skip a week.
It's fine.
Peace, y'all.
Peace. Happy Pride.